I had 4.1 million people waiting for me to fill. We had reporters knocking at the door. My mum was in tears. We had eggs thrown at our windows. I did not leave the house alone for around about 2 years because I would be in Primark and people would be throwing shoes at my head. I'd be in pizza shops and people would throw pizzas at me. I just couldn't leave the house alone, and I suffered with panic attacks and anxiety for a long time after that.
Holly Hagan-Blyth is a British entrepreneur, fitness coach and reality TV star from her time on the MTV series Geordie Shore. Holly gained a lot of popularity for her carefree attitude, which unfortunately made her an easy target for the British media to try and exploit. Holly has since gone on to prove her haters very wrong and start her own fitness company and app, Team Fitty, with her husband Jacob, with the app cultivating a loyal and dedicated audience of hundreds of thousands. Join us as Holly shares her story and explains how she beat the public opinion, become an influencer success story and entrepreneur in the fitness realm.
You're crushing it. You have such a loyal following on your personal brand because they know she's saying something, she probably means it. Welcome to the podcast, finally.
Honestly, I have been so excited about this. When you said August, I was like, oh, that's so far away. Then it's actually come around so quick. Like when you have children, I feel like time's just gone.
I know, which is really sad though.
It is. It's so sad.
Do you ever go like on the scroll and look at when they were just born and how teeny tiny they were?
All the time. And I'm just like, oh, why did I not appreciate it enough at the time? Because I feel like I only had a newborn for, let's say, 3 months. Well, not a new, like an actual baby, because from then he just did not feel like a baby. It's so strange.
I know. I always look back and I'm like, did I spend enough time with her? Did I do enough of this? Like, it's so funny how your brain just like goes into that mode.
It's wild. And then I'm like, do I want another one? Even though I'm in hell right now. And then I'm like, no, my business would absolutely not survive if I was to have another one right now. So yeah, I'm sure we'll discuss more about that today anyway.
I'm definitely on that verge of like, oh, I think I could do another one now. Now that I'm sleeping consistently.
Yeah.
So funny because if you'd asked me a year ago, I'm one and done. I'm good.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you start, I feel like getting a bit of life back, you're like, yeah, I could do another one.
100%. And I think because you've like solidified everything with your business, you've got those processes in place, which I'm trying to learn at the moment. You have just like got those systems in place so that you can actually have another child. So yeah, I've been learning a lot from you. So thank you.
We're going to get into all this, the business stuff. Okay. So I want to go back to, let's talk about Geordie Shore.
Okay.
So for any Americans listening, is the comparison Jersey Shore, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. So
Okay.
the Geordie Shore was taken from Jersey Shore. So everybody knows Jersey Shore, or I'm sure most people in America know. It was so big, but it was also so big in the UK as well. And it's funny because I actually wrote a Facebook status back in 2010 saying, oh my God, Jersey Shore is the best thing I've ever seen. I wish I could do something like that. 1 year later, I was cast on Geordie Shore out of like 10,000 applicants.
Stop.
Honestly, like I manifested that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we have to get into all of this. You know what's so funny? I was just thinking this morning, I never watched the show, not because I didn't like it, but that's the time I was moving to America.
Right.
And it was
busy.
I was like so in between UK and US television, like not really knowing where I sat. But I do remember being in a club in Newcastle and they were doing interviews. They were pulling people and just like coming and asking us questions. And I remember that. And I think that was right as I was starting to graduate and when I left.
Oh my God, so you could have been cast on Geordie Shore. There was like a moment.
I'm way too boring.
Oh, no, I don't believe that for a second.
They'd be like, absolutely not. All you do is sit on your laptop.
Yeah, I feel like you've been very business minded from like a really early age where it took me a really long time to kind of get that. I was wild. I was 18. I was crazy.
So tell me about getting cast in that show then, because I do feel like when that show came out, it was all the UK talked about.
Yeah.
And I feel like everyone auditioned for that show and wanted to be on it. So when you're saying 10,000 people, it must have been so many more that want to be on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was old school. Like we saw the advert in a newspaper. So it was actually like a physical cutout of a newspaper clipping that said, if you want to apply for this show, then you need to go onto this Facebook page and just answer a few questions. So I was like, there's no way I'll ever get on it. I'm not from Newcastle. So people in America might not understand the way that like a Geordie is just somebody from Newcastle. I'm 40 minutes away. Like that is not a Geordie.
People won't understand that because it's so funny because even where I live in Austin, I'll drive 40 minutes just to go to a friend's house. And it's so, people don't understand. I'm always trying to explain how big things are there.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Like even being 40 minutes away, it's a different accent.
Different people, just complete, like we are like rivals in like football terms. And there's even places between that, like Durham, Sunderland, like you've got other towns even before you get to my town, which is 40 minutes away. So I thought, there's no way I'll ever get on it. I'm not a Geordie, but let me just apply anyway. So I went through all of these like questions. It was just kind of basic questions. What's your most embarrassing moment? What's your best asset? How would people describe you? All of this stuff. And I didn't tell one single lie on that audition form. Bearing in mind, I had a boyfriend at the time, but we were that young. To put it into context, we just went on holiday without each other and we give each other like a free pass. Like that is how young our relationship was. So when people are like, oh, she went on TV, she had a boyfriend, she did this, she did that. I completely understand that some of the things that I did were wrong, but we were also in a very young relationship where we did those kind of things, and I'm glad that I was able to learn from them. But yeah, everything I said in those interviews was like, yeah, I've got a boyfriend, but like he'll let me get with other people. So of course I was going to get cast. I didn't realize at the time I was a producer's dream. I was like selling my soul to them, but that was just who I was.
And how old were you at this point?
18.
And so you get cast on the show at 18. Do you start filming at 18?
At 18, yeah. So we started filming in the March, and I wasn't 19 until the July. So I was still like, mid 18, coming up to 19.
And so give us a bit of an overview of what that looked like, how often you were filming, what the setup was. What did your life look like at that time?
So we went through a few different like interview processes. So I was working at a call centre at the time, doing like loans and mortgages. So I was having to take time off from the call centre to go to these interviews, which were in Newcastle. So I was having to drive 40 minutes away, which in the UK is like quite a long way. And I was talking to the producers, and they were like, right, you got down to the next stage. And I was like, guys, I can't take any more time off from the call centre. Like, they need me. And they were like, well, we need to know that you're serious. I said, well, I need to know that you're serious. Like, you can't keep expecting me to take all of this time off. And I feel like that was quite a strong boundary at the time. I was proud of my 18-year-old self. At 18,
oh my goodness, we all need a bit of that.
And they were like, right, let me call you back. So I'm like, okay. They call me back and they say, what we're about to tell you is confidential, but welcome aboard, you're on Geordie Shore. So I was like,
I have chills, when you have those life-defining moments.
Literally.
I have full body chills right now.
So I don't know if you haven't watched it, you probably won't know, but the very early season where you see us like celebrating.
I have seen some of it.
Intros.
Yeah.
So the intros were like people celebrating, and that was them finding out that they were on. Whereas I didn't have that because I got told over the phone.
Right.
And they made it very clear, if anybody finds out about this, we have 3 replacements to replace you instantly. So if anybody finds out, you are off the shore. We have a replacement waiting, and all they need to do is pack their bags. So be very careful. So I was just like, oh my God, I'm terrified. So the only person I told was my mother. She did not want to hear about it. She was like, she knew who I was. She knew what I was getting myself into, and I was just like, yay, this is going to be so much fun. And she's just terrified. But it was really hard as an 18-year-old to comprehend that this was actually going to be on MTV. Like, you can't comprehend that as like, my frontal lobe wasn't even fully working yet. Like, I didn't understand that it was going on TV. So all I thought was that I'm going away for 6 weeks. It's a pilot of a show. Like, it might not even get shown. So I was just really excited. We didn't get paid 1 pence, by the way. Actually, I think it was in the contract that we got like £1, but I don't think I ever saw that £1. And we were just so excited to like go and get drunk for like free for 6 weeks with free kebabs and Jaeger bombs. They were going to pay for us to live there for 6 weeks. That was an 18-year-old's dream.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So we were super excited. And then I just remember being in the taxi, going to the secret location blindfolded, and I waited all day, and I went, you're putting me in last, aren't you? And they went, yeah, you're in last. And I was like, I knew that I was there for like the shock factor. So they'd been there getting drunk with each other all day, making friends, and then I was put in at the very end when they'd already kind of solidified these friendships, and I was just meant to be the shock factor, which I think at the time I was.
And what does that mean, be the shock factor? So they are all getting to know each other. What was their intention putting you in?
I think I was always meant to be the outcast. I wasn't from Middlesbrough. I wasn't from Newcastle, sorry, I was from Middlesbrough. I was quite not alternative looking, but I didn't look like the expected reality TV star. So we had Towie at the time. They were all very glitz, very glam, and I was just very like black hair, blonde streaks. Like, I really wanted to be the JWoww. And I think I ended up being more the Angelina, to be honest.
And so how was that for you going in, being so young and just kind of thrown into this crazy party atmosphere?
I mean, I was terrified. I had no confidence, but I had this overly like fake confidence. Like, I would put on this big front that I didn't care what anybody thought, and that I knew everything. I was old enough to be there, and I thought I knew it all, and I just didn't. And it was actually the first time I'd ever tried a Jaeger bomb, and we had access to unlimited drinks. So when you're in front of lads who are like 23 to 27, and they're saying, drink, have another one, I just felt like, God, I need to keep up with these people. Next thing I know, I'm in the hot tub. I'm getting my boobs out for everyone, flashing. And a really unfortunate thing happened as well, that the lights reflected off the water that were on my breasts, which meant that when it went on TV, it looked like I had no nipples. So then people started making Facebook groups saying, when you try and breastfeed but realise you're Holly Hagan.
Oh,
so I can
my
laugh
goodness.
about it now. And it was like, Holly Hagan's got no nipples. And then, I mean, eventually I ended up being a glamour model, so I showed people I had nipples. But at that point, I was just like, oh my God, like, this is horrendous. And then there was a worse one saying, when a whale had washed up on Redcar Beach. I don't know if you know Redcar. And it said, when Holly Hagan washes up on the beach. So I was having all of these things made about me, and I was just like, oh my God, I've made the biggest mistake of my life. But yeah, it was, even just walking in there, I was terrified.
Okay, there's so much to digest here.
There's a
Before we
lot.
go, tell an American what a Jaeger bomb is.
Okay, so a Jaeger bomb is a Jägermeister. It's the most disgusting, sickly, sweet shot. And then you have it like in the middle of like a tumbler glass. So it's in a shot glass in the middle of a tumbler glass. And then in the tumbler glass is like Red Bull or like Monster energy drink. And then you would neck the whole thing. And it's actually the Red Bull that I think is the worst part.
I remember those. That was my university life.
Was it? Yeah. I like, our early lives will probably smell the same. You'll have the same scent.
1000%. So what was it like for you when this aired on TV? Because MTV, people in both America and the UK will know how big of a deal that channel is and was, and the reach that it had. We all watched MTV from such a young age. It's how we got any music, all of it. We all watched it. So what was that like? Do you remember kind of the first episodes coming out and what happened to your life?
Like it was yesterday. So we actually went to like a casino in Newcastle, and we did like a little launch party. Bear in mind, I'm still with this boyfriend, so I've told him everything, but obviously it's the first time that he actually gets to see everything. So we've invited our friends and family down, so we're all watching this first episode. And because I was drunk for the majority of it, bear in mind, we were allowed to just get alcohol during the day and things.
Wow.
You could just go to the fridge and like start drinking if you wanted to. So we obviously did that because we were 18. We were free. Well, I was 18. Everyone else was a little bit older and probably a little bit more sensible than me. But yeah, so I didn't remember a lot of it. I didn't remember most of the things that I did. You didn't know what was going to be shown because you filmed 6 weeks, and you know, one of those goes into like a tiny little 45-minute show. And I think at the time I still had like a flip phone. Like iPhones weren't even, well, they might have been out then, but it wasn't something that I had. So it was either like a flip phone or like a BlackBerry phone. And I was getting all of these messages on Facebook because that was the only social media then. That was the only popular social media, thankfully. So rather than kind of seeing what the world had to say, we did have Twitter as well. So we were seeing Twitter. So we were seeing things coming on Twitter, and we were also seeing, you know, people on Facebook are your friends, your family, the people you went to school with, everyone from your area. And I was just seeing an influx of messages slagging me off, not even from trolls, from people that I knew, went to school with. And yeah, it was how I was an embarrassment to Teesside, how I've put shame upon the city that we live in, the town that we live in. And yeah, it was just, I felt like I'd really let, not just myself down, but kind of my whole family. Like I was so embarrassed for them. We had reporters knocking at the door. My mum was in tears. We had eggs thrown at our windows. Bearing in mind, that's not my house. That's my parents' house.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, I did not leave the house alone for around about 2 years, because I would be in Primark and people would be throwing shoes at my head, and I'd be in pizza shops and people would throw pizzas at me. So I just couldn't leave the house alone, and I suffered with panic attacks and anxiety for a long time after that.
What I think people need to realize too, just to give context, I mean, I feel like we're around about the same age. And when we were growing up at that age, that's what you did. The drinking culture was rife.
Yes.
The club scene, they didn't really care how old you were.
No, they didn't.
Like
They
that's
really didn't.
that's kind of I mean, especially up north, that is the world in which we grew up.
Yeah. 100%.
And so it's not like, I don't know the context of, I know drinking age is obviously higher in America and Jersey Shore. I don't know how similar that is, but here it's just what they were highlighting, pretty normal life.
It was. It
for
really
people.
was. It was what everyone was doing at uni. They just weren't being filmed doing it.
That's what I think is important to highlight, because it's not like you just went and did this wild six. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it was wild, but
It was happening.
very much part of the culture.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I remember going out when I was at university and you could get 3 Jaeger bombs for £5, just like $5. Like, that's how cheap and accessible all of this was. And binge drinking was so normal.
Yeah.
As, you know, that's a whole different conversation, but it was so normal. So then what made you decide to continue doing the show, given everything that came to you?
Yes, so I had left at the end before everyone else. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'd had arguments with everyone. I felt like everyone hated me, and I just literally wanted to move to another country and change my name. So I quit, and I had a call from the producers a couple of weeks later saying, look, we want to do a summer special. It's only going to be 3 or 4 days. Why don't you just come and try? And I was like, no, I can't do that again. They were like, look, you can, if you want this to be the end of your story and you want how, you know, you ended that to be the end, then fair enough. But you have an opportunity to come back, to be friends with people, to try again. And they were like, why don't you dye your hair red like you used to have red hair? Why don't you come back? It can be a fresh, new, brand new Holly. We'll put you in first, and it'll be a different time for you. So at the time I was like, no, I don't want to do it. And I think one of the lads rang me. I think it was either Jay or Greg. And they were like, look, just come and do it. You'll be absolutely fine. We'll look after you. So I was like, right, okay. I went and got my hair dyed red. They paid for it because I had no money at the time. We weren't getting paid for the show. Dyed my hair red, and I was the first to walk into this villa in Magaluf. And I made a point to keep out of every argument, to the point of when we actually knew there was going to be a kick-off between the boys and the girls, I pretended I felt sick and I went to bed, because I was like, I don't want to give these people in this house an opportunity to hate me, and I also don't want to give the public another reason to slag me off and hate me as well. So I literally went to bed that night, even though I wasn't unwell. I think I definitely had anxiety, but I wasn't unwell. And I think I look back and I think, oh, that's actually really sad that I felt like I couldn't even just defend whatever point that I felt like I had at the time with that. But yeah, I'm glad that I went back, because I was able to kind of rewrite the story. I was able to find myself. And I think the beauty of what we've done is that every time you're able to watch a series back, it's an opportunity for self-reflection and for growth. So I've been able to look at certain situations and be like, I didn't act right in that moment. Next time I'm going to act a different way. It's an actual honor to be able to do that, because not a lot of people get to sit back and be like, oh, you acted really bad in that situation when you were drunk. Let's not do that again. And I've had 25 opportunities to self-reflect and to grow. And I'm really proud of the person that I am now because of that.
And so how long in total were you doing the show?
So I did the show from 2011, and then I quit in series 13. And God, that must have been in...
So you did it all the way from the beginning to series 13?
Yeah, the beginning to series 13. I don't know how long that was, but it was a long while. At least near enough 8 years.
Wow.
And then I popped back a little bit in 19, and then I didn't do any more from then. And then we went on to do what was called Geordie OGs. So they filmed me and a couple of the others from the show in our grown-up lives, which was really fun. We got to just be at home and be filmed at home, and it was just a little bit more Real Housewives style of filming. And that worked really well. And then they stopped that and they wanted to cancel Geordie Shore altogether. So that was still running in the background for like such a long time with new cast members, but it wasn't really hitting. They realised that they needed the older OG cast members back. So they decided to do a 10-year reunion, which was in 2022. So some of us hadn't seen each other for such a long time. We did that. And then now we kind of once a year meet up again and do these holidays. So I'm actually back in it again now.
Wow. And did the public's perception and the way in which you were being treated change after you went back and kind of started to rewrite your narrative?
100%. I mean, you'll always get the trolls, but I think public's perception, even now, I find I'm in like the Reddit thread, so I get a notification if they tag like Geordie Shore.
Why are you on that?
No, because it's actually really nice now. It's actually really positive. So I think back then, because we were all quite young watching it and we all hadn't really experienced life, and I went through like a really bad breakup in there and people were like, oh my God, why is she acting like that? And it's only now that people are like, God, I hated her at the time when she was going through that. But now I've been through that myself. Now I can completely understand. And I actually find that I get a lot of compassion now from people who are rewatching it with a different mindset. And it's really nice to be able to see. I've just seen one today with people just defending me and what I've actually been through. And yeah, it's quite freeing actually to know that I was just a young girl. I was just going through these things very publicly and I didn't do anything wrong. And as long as I grew from those moments and those situations, like there's nothing wrong with going through those things. And we've got to give people grace. We've got to give people room to grow. And I look back and I'm like, I never did anything. I just slept with people I fancied when I was like single. I wasn't a murderer. Like, I'm not trying to sell you an MLM. Like, I'm not doing anything bad. Like, yes, in the first series, I did cheat on my boyfriend, but we had this kind of arrangement that it was kind of okay to do that. But I didn't really do anything bad after that, apart from just be wild and crazy and I was never a bad person to my friends. I was always a girl's girl. I never got with anybody who the girls fancied. And I can look back now and I think, God, I really gave myself a lot of shit for a lot of years and I didn't deserve that. So I just give myself grace now. And I think a lot of other people give me grace too, which is nice.
God, I can't even talking about watching yourself and being able to reflect on ways in which you change. I can't even imagine watching myself in like my teens or early 20s because you're just immature. Like you really, like you say, your brain hasn't even fully developed.
Literally.
So it's so interesting to even have that chance for personal growth at that age. Like I wasn't even aware of that
100%.
back then. So being on that show obviously has allowed you to have such a platform.
Yes.
At what point did you decide, do you know what, I could actually turn this into a business? Like I could take this opportunity that I've had and build something that's going to really span the long term.
Yes. So what I didn't understand is when we were first cast on Geordie Shore, I thought that I was employed by MTV. So I went for 3 years. Thankfully, I didn't earn much money in those 3 years. Otherwise, I would be in trouble with the tax man. But I thought I was employed. So I hadn't like registered as like a sole trader or I hadn't registered as like a limited company, which is what you're supposed to do. So I finally got an accountant. Thankfully, like I said, I didn't earn much money. So by the time I got all of my tax returns in order, I had enough money to be able to pay what I needed to, which was great. But I just kind of, I used to worry for people who would just like go on Love Island and all of a sudden come into money and not realise that about 50% of that isn't yours. So yeah, for a long time, I didn't understand. So then I set up a company, which is the limited company that I work through with TV work, social media, all that kind of stuff. So I guess been in business for a long time, but I never really saw myself as a business owner because it was my personal brand. So yes, I did tax returns. Yes, I had to pay VAT and all of that kind of stuff, but I've never really understood it. And it was only kind of, let's say, lockdown when I started realizing my actual purpose, which was to help people with health and fitness. So I've been on a really long journey with my own health and fitness and my own weight loss journey for such a long time. I have promoted like the skinny coffees, the skinny teas, the anything that you could find that would help you lose weight. I have probably promoted it because I genuinely believed in those products myself. I would take them, I would lose 5 pounds, and I just didn't have the education to understand that actually that was water weight that I was losing. Right. So I finally found a really good trainer. which again, so weird. I moved to this random city, Bolton, which why would I ever move to Bolton? I have no connections to Bolton whatsoever. Moved there. His gym was 4 minutes around the corner. I'd randomly seen him on Instagram. So I was like, oh, I'm going to sign up with him. And ended up, he taught me exactly what to do. I was finally losing the weight in ways that I was like, oh, I can eat what I want and I just have to count these numbers. Like, what's a calorie deficit? Nobody had ever taught me the right way. And I was like, right, now that I know, I'm going to make sure that everything that I put out there now is going to be, I'm going to help people the way that he's helped me. So in lockdown, I did my nutrition course. So I was qualified as a nutrition coach. In lockdown 2, I qualified as a fitness instructor. And my husband qualified as a PT. I have just recently qualified as a PT as well because I wanted to do more of the gym-based stuff. And I'm now doing my pre and postnatal literally as we speak. Wow. So all of these things that I've now been able to do, which I found my passion, which is so nice when you finally find it. I feel like you kind of had it from like quite early on. But for me, it took such a long time to actually find what my purpose is on this earth and what I am actually here for. And if I can use all of the mistakes that I've made with diet products, surgery, like I've had so many surgeries and been left unhappy that I'm just like, God, if I can save one person from doing that, that'll be so worth it.
Did you, when you were going on the show, think about how this would build your personal brand?
No, like personal brand, I just didn't even know what that meant until like a few years ago. I didn't understand what a personal brand was. And when people are like, oh yeah, you can't do that because it'll affect your personal brand. I'm like, what? I've always just been myself. Yeah. And I've always just been me unapologetically. And well, not unapologetically, actually. I used to apologize for being me, but now I'm completely unapologetically myself. And I understand what a personal brand is. I understand things that can affect it. But God, no, nobody spoke to us about that. Nobody told us that, you know, we were supposed to build up these characters and people were going to love us or hate us and we could actually monetize on that. And I think we saw it, you know, early on we would do like club appearances and that was a very male dominated area. And everybody wanted the lads to go to the PAs because that would bring the girls in. Nobody really wanted the girls there. We would be earning like far less than the boys. The boys would be earning like $1,000 to $2,000 and I'd be earning £250, for example. So it was taking me, especially as one of the not so liked cast members, it was taking me a lot longer to earn any money. So thankfully, like social media, like Instagram influencing came around and we would be like sent phone cases to like, oh, what, are you going to send me a free phone case? And all I have to do is post a picture of it. Like, yes, of course. And then we started getting paid for that. And that's kind of where things started to change for me, I think.
I think that's what makes the best quote unquote personal brand though, is when you are fully yourself.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like personal brands where you're so specific about here's the things I will talk about, here's the things I won't.
Yeah.
People can sense that inauthenticity a mile off.
100%.
I follow so many people, you know, that I totally do respect, and I watch their stories and I'm like, oh, I know I'm only getting 20% of the story. Like, I would love you so much more if I could just see a little bit more realness.
Yeah.
So probably you going in with that kind of naivety has meant that you have such a loyal following on your personal brand because they know if she's saying something, she probably means it.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to get that after kind of the diet product situation because obviously everyone was doing it and then it started to come out that it was bad and I promoted it at the time where everyone was starting to think that it was bad. But for me, I was like, but it worked for me. So I wasn't ever intentionally trying to like dupe anyone. I was never trying to that's just not who I am. And I think the people who know me know that. It was never intentional. And I've honestly spent such a long time trying to make up for that. And the amount that I've spent on courses trying to make up for it, the amount of time I spent on content trying to make up for it, I'm really doing the work now still, even though it was like, 7 years ago, I'm still doing the work now to make up for the mistakes that I made in the past. And I think the people who have given me grace for that and are able to see like, no, she's obviously learned from that and she's made a change. There's always going to be people who say like, oh, well, she used to do this and she used to do that. And they will hold you to that narrative for the rest of your life. That's something that I'll never be able to change. But for the people who do, like they know me and they know that I'm loyal and I know that they're loyal as well.
That makes total sense. So going into business with already having a following, I'm really curious how you felt about that because even with starting my second company now, my supplement company, I will admit, I've been really scared to fail publicly.
Yeah.
Because it was, for me, when I started my business, like I didn't even know what a personal brand was. Like I didn't want to put my face on anything. It was just like, I'm going to start this business and be fully behind the scenes. If I'd failed, no one would have seen, no one would have cared, right? This second company, I'm like, oh God, like I feel like people expect that it's going to be a success.
Yep.
I don't know. It's brand new.
Yep.
But for you starting this fitness company, I mean, very publicly, did you have any of that fear come up? What was it like?
Oh my God, I'm terrified. I had 4.1 million people waiting for me to fail.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it felt. And anything that I did, if I did an example of how to demonstrate an exercise and I did that wrong, I would have every PT jumping on me that this is the wrong form, you shouldn't be doing this. And the thing is, when you are a trainer or somebody in like the coaching world, you learn a lot on the job. And thankfully I had shadowed my previous PT for like 4 years. We had a business together first. So I just kind of jumped onto his business. So I don't take credit for that because he literally just gave me 1% of it and I didn't really do much. He did all of the work and I kind of felt, I definitely feel guilty about that now because I didn't understand how much he actually had to do. And I'm just like, what, my couple of posts a month aren't like, I'm doing enough. I just wasn't. And I completely know that now. But yeah, I think it was really hard, especially in that industry, because it's so easy to get things wrong. And there's so much misinformation out there that you've literally got to be by the book. But thankfully, because I did have all of that information, I did have all of that experience from just shadowing PTs, shadowing master's level educated nutritionists and having them to fire questions to whenever I needed at that time, I knew that everything that I was saying was correct. And yes, if I was a little bit off on form, then fair enough, you feel free to correct me. I'm always willing to learn and happy to learn, but just do it in the right way. Don't try and like pull me down. We all started at one point and we all need to learn to be able to grow. So yeah, I don't mind when people say it in a nice way, but it's when people are just ultimately waiting for you to fail, which is hard.
Oh my God, you sound so much more graceful than me when someone's mean online.
Oh no, I hate it deep down, but I'm like, thank you for letting me know.
Oh my God, I'm so not. I'm like, block.
Block, delete, bye.
When someone goes out of their way to be rude
Yeah.
and mean, I'm just like, you're not staying.
No, you're not staying.
Let
no.
me see you all the way out. You seem so much nicer than me about it. So talk to me about this, the business. What was the hardest part about getting up and running, getting started, getting those first customers through the door? Tell me about those early stages.
I think for us, it was definitely the kind of money side of things because my husband, he was a footballer and he unfortunately got a lot of injuries, which meant that he was kind of playing for lower levels, which, you know, doesn't bring in a lot of money. And because we wanted to be all in on the business, he needed to take a cut of the business. So it wasn't where, you know, when you have a startup and you kind of working on it and you don't take any money from it, which I haven't in the entire time we've had the business. I've not took a single penny, but he has to because we need to be able to live. So it was hard knowing that, you know, the money that was coming in, we couldn't ultimately reinvest all of it, but every spare penny has gone into reinvesting it. So it was just kind of trying to, you know, you've got to build a website, you've got to get customers. It costs to build a website. Our first website, I think we paid about $8,000 for it, and thankfully they allowed us to pay monthly. So we were like, right, all we need to do is get these customers in and we can fund it. So we were funding it whilst running it. So we had that pressure of like needing to get customers and needing to get clients to be able to actually even pay for the website and the things that needed to be added onto it. Thankfully, we did get customers and they had incredible results. Honestly, I thank them so much because they came into us blind. They had no idea what we were going to do. They were paying £160 a month, which is a lot of money for people in England to pay for like a 4-week block of coaching. Yeah. So I think we had about 60 people sign up initially, which we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. We can fund the website. Jacob can take a little bit to just live and, you know, we can reinvest everything back in. Then we decided that we wanted to be an app. So, you know, every fitness professional has an app. Yeah. So we couldn't be left behind in that aspect. So yes, we just paid for this $8,000 website, but now we're going to have to pay a hell of a lot more for the app. So thankfully we were able to, from our clients, be able to get the funds to be able to do that. And we actually used some of our tax pot as well. We were like, right, we'll use the tax money. So let's just risk getting in trouble with the tax man to be able to fund this. But at that point, we had the confidence in ourselves that if we can be getting people to pay £160 a month, then we can get people to pay $29.99 a month. So we felt kind of safe at that point to be able to do that. And our job at that point was to just be given as much value as we possibly could. Your platform, for example, there is so much value on there. And to actually, I kind of want to emulate that with what we do, and to just give them everything we possibly can, and keeping no secrets, just giving them everything so that they don't have to go elsewhere. And I'm really proud of what we've been able to do so far, because the resources alone, like we've got a full nutrition course on there. So if you want to learn in depth about nutrition, you can. We've got live workouts, we've got gym workouts. We're just doing pre and postnatal. We've now just been able to take on someone for Pilates. We're going to take on a new instructor for something else. And this is what I'm saying with kind of, I fell pregnant like literally 1 month into starting this business as well, by the way.
Wow.
So we were just like, right, I'm a fitness instructor. I've got to be fit and performing these workouts. And I am now pregnant and I feel unbearable. So I actually was doing live workouts at 6 a.m. for our group at 36 weeks pregnant.
Oh my God.
I know. So yeah, it was a lot. And it definitely taught us a lot of lessons, but it also made me understand that if I want to have another baby, we have to be able to let go of some of the business to other people. We have to delegate. And that is the process that we're doing now. So hopefully within the next year, we will be able to set some processes in place where it's not just me and Jacob running the entire thing. And I've actually got a little bit of time to spend with the baby, or I'm able to take, at least 4 months off, because that's what I want to be able to do.
I love that you're sharing too, how costly it is in the beginning, because I also talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who think that if you have a platform, everything else is easy.
Oh my God, no.
I know. And they're like, well, I just need to learn to build an audience and I can launch anything. And I always love having these conversations, because it is not that simple.
Nope.
And you can't just assume that if you build an audience, they're going to follow you everywhere and buy into everything. You still need to have a phenomenal offer. You still need to have a great sales process. You still need to have amazing delivery, all of that stuff. And I do think, it's always the case of like, people think the grass is greener. So if they don't have an audience, they think, well, if I have an audience, all of this is easy. And that's why I love having these conversations, because that's just not the case at all. I think all of us go into business with some kind of superpower, right? Whether it's going in with this amazing audience that really know, like, and trust you, whether it's going in with a knowledge of marketing, we all have it. And it's on us to identify, okay, what is it that I'm going in with? And what is it that I need to learn? And so I think that's just really important, because it's so easy to say the grass is greener. It's only green where you water it.
100%. And I think people just think, I have 4.1 million followers on Instagram. You would think that any business I launch is going to be so successful. And I will tell you now that the following you have on Instagram is absolutely zero reflection on how your business is going to do. Because those followers, they weren't following me for fitness. That I've accumulated those followers over the space of nearly maybe 15 years. They're not following me for fitness. They were following me because they wanted to see what I was getting up to, and me getting drunk, and for my personality, and some people waiting for me to fail, but they're not there for fitness. It is better to have 1,000 loyal fans than the 4.1 million, because really I've just got so many eyes on me that just a lot of them aren't wanting to see what I'm posting.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to say, and for people to understand that actually building an audience that's really targeted, like if you're starting from scratch, really thinking about who is it that I want to target and be able to bring those people in. We're just in this influencer era, we're so used to seeing all these big numbers. And I even have people come to me and say, but Natalie, I only have 10,000 followers. I'm like, did you hear what you just said? What is a room of 10,000 people? That is so many people. And if they're there for a reason, that is huge. And I think we do need to adjust our mindset around that, and no, it's not going to make you more or less successful. Of course, we're all going into it with some kind of skill. So I love, love, love that you're highlighting that. What was the decision for you? Because it sounds like as you're explaining it, it was get customers, and then through that you can fund the app development, and through that fund the next thing. What was your decision-making process to go that way versus raising money and going down that path?
So for me, I think I'm not a business person. I will sit here and say everything that I have learned is literally through myself. I don't come from anybody who has ever owned a business. I don't know anybody who even knows about that stuff. So for me, I've always been taught that like debt is bad. So I've never had a credit card. The only debts that I've got is kind of like my house and my car that's like on finance. So I don't have debts. So for me, when I would be I learned a lot of like Dragon's Den and things like that. So when I'm watching people say, oh, we've raised this amount of funding, to me, that is terrifying. So I'm still at a point now where I'm like, could we go down that route? Would it be more pressure? For me, it sounds like a lot of anxiety, and it sounds like a lot of pressure. And when there's pressure with numbers, I probably wouldn't sleep at night. So for me, just knowing that I'm self-funded, knowing that everything that we're losing is just ours, that makes me feel a lot happier and a lot more comfortable and a lot more safe. But I would love to get to a point of, being able to raise funds and comfortably knowing what I need to do. And, everybody does it. All businesses need funding at some point, or all great businesses need funding. And I don't think I'll be able to get our business to a point of where I want to get it without that. But I just don't know how I'm going to overcome that step to get there.
Oh, I think you can't do it without funding.
Well, with your help, maybe. I'll be on the phone to you now. I've got your number now.
No, 100%. But I also think, you're saying you don't know a lot about business. I don't think anyone does. I think nobody goes into this really knowing anything about what they're doing. And even I speak to people that I look at and I think, God, you've been in business for so long. You must know so much. And I ask them questions that like, I'm winging it. Like I'm figuring it out as I go along. And I think that's, I also think that's a really important thing that I want people to hear is like, just because it looks like you know what you're doing doesn't mean that we know what we're doing.
No, God, we literally sit at home and we're like, right, what Instagram posts are we going to put up today? Because we have absolutely no plan. Like we've started to try and have like a bit more of a strategy. And, I even wrote down, I think you have like your whole boss babe process there. So I literally copied that, took out the things that weren't relevant, added the things that were. And I was like, right, this is what we need to do X amount of times a week. This is what we need to do X amount of times a month. And I was really able to sit down and just be like, right, that gives me a little bit of a plan moving forward, rather than just being like, right, we haven't posted in 3 days, what do we post?
Right.
Because it is hard. And we have actually just messaged a company, like a freelance company, to do like our SEO. I didn't even know what SEO was before that, but somebody mentioned it to me when I was at like a house party for the England game. They're like, have you got anyone on SEO? I was like, what's SEO? Like I had no idea that was like so important. So we've just reached out to somebody who's doing like a full audit on us now, which is going to be great. And also reached out to somebody for like social media and things like that to do like paid ads, because we've not done a single paid ad. I wouldn't even know how to do it. And I think it's so important to be reaching out to experts who do know more than you, because you can't know it all in business and you do have to hire the experts in. So I'm hoping that that's only going to take us a little bit further now and be able to scale, because with me and Jacob, I mean, you can't scale just us two. There's no way.
Totally. And it's like, I think one thing you're so great at, which most really good entrepreneurs are, is, okay, let me find someone that's been and done it. Yeah. Let me learn from them versus spending the next 3 years just trying. Yeah. Let me just go learn from them. Yeah. I think that's the best advice in business is go find someone that's done it. Ask them how they're doing it. Yeah, exactly. Go see if they've got a process. Go see if they'll show you how to run your ads. How has it been working with your partner? Because me and Stephen tried it and we lasted about 3 months. And then I thought, well, I think we might get a divorce. So.
Honestly, like I feel you. Like it is so difficult. It wasn't difficult until we had a baby. Right. But now it's like the order of like the way things work is that we are parents first, we are business partners second, and we are married third. So it shouldn't be that way. I think our marriage should really be at the top. That's what's holding everything together. But it's really difficult when, it comes to the end of the day and he's trying to get a little bit freaky. And I'm like, absolutely not. We've just argued over business all day. We've been screaming. The child's been screaming all day. And it's like, absolutely not. So it's so hard to be able to kind of separate those different things. And it's great though. Like he's great. We work really well as a team. He's a brilliant PT and he's great with our members as well. Like he's just, I think both of us together are like what people trust. And when they come in, our like USP essentially is the fact that you will always speak to us. Like you sign up to an app and you won't really get to speak to the person. We answer every single message in the Facebook group. We are literally there 24/7 in the Instagram DMs. You'll always get a response from us. And we like how personal that is. But yeah, working together, it's really, really tough. And I'm surprised we've lasted. I'm proud of us for lasting this long, to be honest.
I look at couples that work together and just bow down because we tried it. It was so challenging.
Yeah, it is.
Like both of us wanting to be the boss and both of us feeling like we knew best. We were like, oh yeah, this is not gonna
It's not going to work. No, definitely not.
So let's talk about motherhood.
Yes.
How and has it shifted how you look at your career and business?
Well, I think it makes you more motivated, definitely, and it makes you more disciplined because, we have to earn money for him. He has to have a great life. I want to provide great things for him, even, with childcare and schooling and all of that kind of stuff. I want to be in a position where he doesn't have to want for anything. And obviously, when you have a baby, it changes your entire life. And nobody kind of prepares you for what it's going to do to your relationship. People say it like, oh, it's not going to be the same, but my God, is it not the same?
You can't even imagine though the way it will change.
No, you can't. And the thing is, like, some of my friends have had really chilled babies, and I was so naive. I was like, I work from home. Like, I'm going to be absolutely fine having a baby because I work from home. Like, I don't need childcare. The baby's just going to be there and I'm just going to work.
Same. I used to envision
Like,
the baby
what?
just chilling. Like in, the little bouncer beside me and me bouncing the baby with my foot while I'm typing away. Like truly, that's what I thought.
Delusional, like completely delulu. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but nobody questioned it. Nobody pulled me up on it. So I very quickly realized that we don't live near any family. We don't have any help. We don't even live in an hour radius to any of our friends. But even if we did, they all work full time. Our parents work full time. So we very quickly realized that 8 months, we were like, right, we need some form of childcare. And that's what we did. And thankfully, he does go in 3 or 4 days now, and that does give us time to do it. But there's still not enough hours for everything that needs doing. And there's always something that I want to do. Like, I don't know if I've potentially got some form of ADHD or something, but I hyper focus on something and I have to do it. And now I'm just like, right, well, now I want to create a course doing this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do a PDF, and just all these things running through my mind. And I want to get everything done right now, this second. And I've got all of the energy to do it, and I just don't have the time. So I think for me, it's just learning to make use of the time that I've got. You're not going to be able to get any more time. And I think I did feel guilty about putting him in nursery, daycare for the Americans. But now I realize that actually it's the quality of the time that I spend with him rather than the quantity. There's no point in me spending all of this time with him if I'm not even looking at him and I'm on my phone. So now I know that at least those 3 or 4 days that I have with him, I'm sat on his level, I'm playing with him, we're actually interacting properly. And I think no matter how many hours you work, as long as you're doing that with your free time with your child, that's absolutely fine.
I totally agree. There's so many times when I've thought, yeah, I can totally have Naomi with me for this, but then if I'm looking at my phone or on my laptop, what message is that sending to her? And so having to get over that guilt myself, I feel like it's such an ongoing journey, and it changes, I feel like, at every stage that they're at. Has motherhood changed your perspective on anything?
I think it's definitely changed my perspective on working long hours, honestly, because I just think about when I was growing up and my mum worked all of the hours God sends. She was a single parent and she needed to go out and work. So I spent a lot of time with my nana, and when we did kind of spend time together, I don't really have many memories with her. I've got all of my memories are with my nana. So I feel like I'm just trying to balance that now, and obviously signing up to the society has really given me an insight into how to actually delegate things and that it's okay to do that. I mean, we didn't even understand how to hire people, and even just sitting back and thinking how do I make my first hire? How do we hire someone for admin? Do we have to think about their time off and their sick pay and maternity leave and all of these different things? So obviously we've gone down the freelance route at the moment, but in the future, obviously we do want to be able to hire people, and we do want to be able to actually have a team of people there for us. So yeah, I think it's just learning and just trying to find that balance, because like I said, there's no way we could have another baby with the amount of things that I've got on my shoulders right now, but I definitely want another one.
Do you feel like balancing that, because I have this myself too, this ambitious businesswoman part of you and the part of you that wants to be so present as a mother? Do you find that you do have to say no to a lot of things that actually you would have said yes to in the past? And how do you like balance those decisions?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is harder now. And, you know, for example, we've just done a series in Thailand. So that series was 3 weeks long. And obviously I'm a mother now. I could go for 3 weeks, but did I think that that was fair to Jacob for our business, for Alpha Jacks? I just didn't feel like he was under one. So just from my perspective, I felt like I didn't want to leave him. And I don't judge anybody who would make that decision. It just personally for me, I felt like 3 weeks was a little bit too long, but I am in a position where I can say 3 weeks is too long. You know, some people wouldn't get that luxury of being able to tell their producers like, no, I can't be there for 3 weeks. Some people have to leave. So I had the grace from them to be able to say, right, you can come and do 1 week. So for me, that was my opportunity to go and still partially do something that I want to do, something that is bringing in money, and it's bringing in a hell of a lot of money because we do get paid a really decent sum of money for filming. And to be able to do that and just have that flexibility was really, really lucky. But like I say, other people don't get that. But I think, yeah, there is things that I do need to say. Would I have loved to have spent 3 weeks there? You know, just with my friends, having a little break from motherhood? Of course, like I would have loved that. But I had to just do what I felt like was best for me and everybody else, which was the 1 week.
That makes total sense. Another thing that I want to talk to you about, because I also feel like I don't hear enough of these conversations, and as someone in that position, I wish I did, is when you're the breadwinner of your family as a woman, I do think we are kind of in a new dynamic here. Like I was looking at some of the data, and when you look at a graph of the percentage of households that have a female breadwinner, it is skyrocketing. It's going through the roof. And by the way, I think it's an amazing thing. I'm so grateful that we have these kinds of opportunities. And I think it's unprecedented in a way. Like we don't have a blueprint of what that looks like.
No, we don't.
And I think that does add a lot of pressure to women who already feel a lot of pressure when you're the one, you know, growing the baby, birthing the baby, being the primary parent in the beginning, which we all are as mothers, mostly all of us are, plus being the breadwinner of your family. Of course, the both of you are in business together. How have you found that dynamic? Because I don't think it's easy.
It's not. And I think it's really difficult, especially when, like, as a woman, you are expected to do other jobs in terms of like cooking and cleaning. And thankfully, I don't have a husband who is that way inclined. He doesn't expect those things of me. But I find that I do less of the household chores, for example, because I'm focused so much on the business side of things. And there's a lot of things in business that, you know, I'm doing more of the kind of writing the courses, I'm writing the programs. Jacob is doing more of the kind of like filming of the workouts and planning of the workouts. But in terms of like the more academic side of things, that tends to be me. I'm doing all of the systems. I'm doing the webinars. Thanks for the webinar slides.
We love a webinar.
Yeah. I'm doing the webinar slides. You know how long it takes to sit and do those webinar slides. Like it's a long process. Then it's hosting the webinars, and then it's putting things out. And I'm doing all of those systems in the back end with like many chats. So there's a lot of like, I'm sat at a computer a lot, so I do less of the housework and things. Thankfully, we've just decided to get a cleaner, so that is helping. But before that, we were arguing about these things. Jacob is very much a 50-50 parent, and I would say that actually in some points he was doing a little bit more. I would say he was doing more than me because I was so busy on the computer. I was so busy planning the courses and doing all these things that I just don't expect him to do because he's got his strengths, I've got my strengths, and we play to those. But for like the first year, he got up with Alpha Jacks for the entire first year. Like I did not have to get up on the mornings. I got up and did the emails, and I got up and I got on the computer, and yeah, it was easy. We've now started doing alternate days, which I'm not a fan of. But he was like, I need a sleep in. I was like, okay, we'll do alternate days then. Crying. But yeah, honestly, I've got a lot of men just wouldn't be able to be comfortable in that position. And he does his absolute best with all of his strengths and all of his skills. And he is amazing at what he does. And he's just an amazing father and an amazing all-round husband because he doesn't moan about if he has to clean the countertops. He doesn't moan if he has to hoover. So I think I shouldn't say lucky because it shouldn't be luck, should it? This shouldn't be something that is just not expected of us to be 50-50, but I do feel lucky because I hear stories from women that just don't have that 50-50 aspect. So yeah, it is hard, but I do think we're really good at managing it.
Yeah, I hear so many stories of not having the 50-50. So I love that you're highlighting that, the importance of, like you say, having a partner that I can actually handle it as well. Because I think it takes a certain kind of man to be able to be in relationship with a really ambitious, successful woman. So I love that the two of you have found each
But
other.
he's also become ambitious because of that as well. So he played football all his life. And I don't know if you know much about people who play football, but they don't focus on anything else. And they get taught not to focus on anything else because they want your sole laser focus on football. And he played really high. He played for Leicester when he was like 19, which, they won the league. That was a really, really big thing. And from then, he had like a decent career, but unfortunately his injuries have just prevented him from going any further. But in that time that before he met me, he wasn't taught to focus on anything else. So when we got together and I was like, well, what are you going to do after football? What's going to come after football? And I was terrified for him because I was like, you've got no plan in place. And don't get me wrong, I didn't have a plan when I was in Geordie Shore. I was just winging it. But I knew for him it was really important. He wasn't getting the Instagram deals that were, a couple of grand that could see him through 1 month. So he needed something. So I was like, right, well, why don't you just do a PT course? Like, why not do this? We've got time. We're in lockdown. And thankfully for me, like giving him the kick and the push, he is like so ambitious now. Like he'll read books. He never read books before me. And I don't want to like blow my own trumpet, but we both brought out such different things in each other. He gave me the health, the fitness, like he taught me in that aspect. He made me such a healthier person and to be able to live my life like not in the way that I used to be, getting 5 takeaways a week and things like that. And I've helped him with like the academic type stuff, reading the books, and just we've had such a positive effect on each other. So I think as a team, like it's been a match made in heaven, to be honest.
Oh my God, so similar. Like with Stephen, he was a professional gamer and he started
Love
doing
that.
that. Yeah, when he was 18, and same thing, you're just taught to focus on one thing and you kind of think you're going to do it forever until you're not. And then you're like, well, what's next? What do I
What's
do?
next?
A career like that where you're so focused versus where you can have a lot of exploration in different places. I totally relate to so much of that. So what's next for you?
Oh God, what's next for me? I mean, I hope that we will be able to get the business to a point where it is able to scale once I learn a little bit more about the SEO, but I've got somebody there for that now, which is great. I just want to keep learning and keep growing and try and get the business to a point of where I feel comfortable enough to be able to step away for a couple of months, to be able to have a baby, for other people to be running things and not to be like overthinking and thinking that I have to do everything. Because at the moment, I am the emails, I am the social media, I am the webinar, I am the PT, I am the nutrition coach, I am the admin, I am the accountant. Like, I don't want to be all of those things. So I hope that, through learning from your things as well, to be able to just get to a point of being able to step away, know that the business is running, and be able to put my focus into potentially having another baby. So we'll revisit in a year and see where I am.
I'm excited. You need to come on in a year and tell us where you're
100%,
at.
but in Austin, you can fly me out.
Done. Deal.
Love that.
So let's talk fitness real quick. How often do you work out a week?
So I, at the moment, work out probably, honestly, about 1 to 3 times a week at the moment. So I'm not like super strict with things. I always get my walks in. I find walking like super important for like mental health and also just general day-to-day fitness as well. So I will make sure I get my 10K steps in a day, and I'll maybe do like 1 to 3 resistance sessions. If I have to film for the app, then it will be a little bit different. I will be doing like a more heavy schedule in 1 week. I might do like 3 workouts in 1 day, but they are only like 20-minute classes. So it's not all of the time just being super strict. But yeah, I feel like that's just what works for me. And I think that's so important to find, just having 20 minutes here and there and knowing that it doesn't have to be like grueling hours spent in the gym to actually see results.
Is that what you did when you were thinking of losing weight postpartum?
Yes, so I actually gained 50 pounds in pregnancy, which I'm only 5'3". That was a substantial amount of weight for me. The soles of my feet were actually hurting. I'd gained that much weight in such a short amount of time. I felt like I couldn't even walk. And I did eat everything. Like, I did use it as an excuse.
Oh my God, I totally use that excuse.
Oh, you've got to eat for 2. Like,
Maybe
it's
once
the only time. But yeah, I did find that, obviously I am a PT, I am a fitness instructor. There was that extra pressure there from that. There was the extra pressure from knowing I'm going to have to go and film soon in a bikini. So I did have more pressures than the average postpartum woman. But I also wanted to prove that it could be done in a healthy, sustainable and long process. It took me a year. It took me an entire year of getting my 10K steps in, not being consistent all of the time, having the odd day here and there where it's not perfect. But what I need to drill into people, it's not what you do occasionally that causes the results. It's what you do consistently over time. So for me, being, let's say, 70% on point, that got me to where I needed to be in a year. So I know people want to do everything quick. Everyone wants to do a 6-week plan and lose 17 stone. Like, it just doesn't work like that. But for me, everything's about sustainability. Everything is about just being able to have something that is a lifestyle. This is what you do every day. It's not something you do for 6 weeks and then give up. This is just how you live life now. And that, I feel like I've really found that point now.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. For me, I think same thing. It took me about a year, because also when you've just given birth, the last thing you want to be doing is just restricting your body. And
100%.
You know,
and you breastfed as well. So that's a lot of people think when you breastfeed, you lose weight, but actually for a lot of people, they need a lot more calories. So it means that you actually, some people can gain weight when they're breastfeeding. So it's really, there's this misconception that, if I breastfeed, I'm just going to lose weight. It doesn't happen for many people. So for me, I didn't breastfeed. So I felt like I could go into a deficit when, if you were breastfeeding, that would affect your milk supply. So you've just got to kind of weigh up what you want to do and just know that everything takes time. Just be patient and just be consistent, and you will get there. It doesn't matter how long it takes.
Okay, so walk me through a day in your life. We'll talk about kind of what your movement would look like, what your food would look like, and then just generally what your day looks like being a mum and business owner.
So I'll usually wake up when my child does. So let's say like between 6 and 7. Do you want a day when he's here or a day when he's not?
Let's do when he's not.
Okay. So we will take him to nursery for 7:30, and then I'll come back, usually do a workout then, pop in the gym for maybe, let's say, 45 minutes if I'm going to do a resistance session, or I might do a quick 20-minute workout. Then I will have my breakfast. My breakfast is not the most healthy breakfast at the moment. It is literally just cereal. I'm really loving, Honey Nut Shreddies at the moment. So good. So again, it's not about restriction. It's just, I probably should be having eggs. I probably should be having, something that was avocado. But no, I just like to have my cereal. And then I will get on the laptop. I will usually do either some social media posts, schedule something, or at the moment I'm planning a webinar for next week. So I'll be looking over and making sure the slides are okay. And then usually, well, at the moment I am doing my pre and postnatal course. So I'll jump on and do an hour or two of that. And honestly, by then, you're kind of looking at pickup time, to be honest. These things, I find that I am always stuck in some kind of technical error. So something, things that should take me like an hour take me 3. I always have a technical error with something. So I'm sat there and I'm like, why is this taking me so long? This is why I need professionals. So yeah, everything usually takes me a little bit of a long time. Lunch will usually be, I'll probably have eggs on sourdough and avocado, something a little bit more balanced. And then for we would call it tea. Do you still say tea? Dinner now?
I know, I'm converted.
So, well, people from the northeast of England usually say tea for dinner, which is very confusing.
Funny because I just did a retreat in the UK and we had my American team over and we did afternoon tea.
Oh, yeah.
And Lindsay, who was on our team, she said, so what are we going to eat?
Bless her. I love Lindsay. I do watch all of the little
the
chats and things that when, you go in the catch-up calls and things.
Yeah.
She's great. But yeah, I can understand how that is quite confusing because tea is a drink as well. And then for dinner or tea, I will usually have like a big rice bowl with like salmon, avocado, veg, and then I'll always finish with an orange club biscuit. I don't know if you get them in.
No, but I do stock up when I come back.
Yeah, they are great. Bedtime for Alpha Jacks is usually around about 7, and then might finish off a little bit of work once. Well, we will play with him for an hour after nursery as well. So between like 6 and 7, we'll just play with him, give him all of the attention that he needs before we get him in the bath and to bed. And then usually finish off a little bit of work. And then it was Love Island time at 9 p.m, but that's finished now. So we've got no 9 p.m. TV show.
I'm actually behind. I'm 2 weeks behind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
I've been
to be fair, it
seeing
wasn't
it,
the best one, but it was all
it was
right.
good.
Yeah, it was all right.
It was good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. You are honestly so welcome. I've been so excited about this, and I just feel like this is going to be a really great interview. I can't wait to listen to it.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you've been so real about what it takes setting up a business as well, because I really think that's what people need to hear. That it's not about having this, there's no magic bullet.
There's not.
It's not having an audience is going to work here, having knowledge of funnels is going to work here. It's truly bringing it all together. And I love watching you do all this. I think what you've built is absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I have been learning funnels from you, so I'm like, yes, I get it now.
You're crushing it. So where can everyone find you and find out about your app?
I would love to give you a discount as well, if that's okay. So let's do Boss Babe 20 for 20% off our app. So you can either do that on the annual subscription or the monthly. There's no contract. You get literally everything in there, from meal plans, workout plans, gym, home, real-time workouts, nutrition course, loads of recipe books. Honestly, I could talk about it for hours. Like, it's literally brilliant. But you can find me at Holly Hagan-Blyth on Instagram, and you can find the app at Team Fitty app.
Perfect. And so if someone jumps in with the free trial, where do you recommend they start? Like, what's one of your favorite workouts or something like that?
Oh God, definitely start at a V-step. So a V-step this is what pulls people in, you see, the V-step, because I am one of these people who doesn't believe you need to do burpees and bear crawls to be able to be a fitness girly and succeed on your fitness journey. So V-step is something that I created. It's like a dance aerobics kind of workout.
Oh my God.
Did you ever do like the Beverly Collard DVDs back in the day where it was just like the dance aerobics workouts?
No, but I remember like Zumba and stuff.
Yeah, so it's very much on that kind of level. And I do it with all like 90s and noughties music, and it's honestly just the best vibe. And I usually do like little motivational speeches throughout it as well, so everyone comes off it just feeling amazing. So if you are going to sign up, definitely start with a V-step. You will not regret it.
Oh my God, I'm going to sign up. Thank you so much. This was the best.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me.